And we are finally racing here in New York City. We're finally back. 2021, first race of the season in New York City, guys. And we are at Randall's Island. One of my favorite races in New York City. For many reasons, which I'm probably going to touch up in this race as well. So we are at the neutral lap, quote unquote neutral lap, which is basically a fight for position already from the get-go. This is about 6 o'clock in the morning. Temperature here is, I think, in the 50s. I'm from Israel. I like the metric system. I'm watching races in Europe. It's all by the metric system. That's how I like my data to be. So 12 degrees Celsius. We're also looking at kilometers per hour on the bottom right here. And I am really excited. We are back on racing, guys. Alright, so just a little background while you guys watching me battling for position here. My goal for this race was just to try to get to the front from the get-go and either attack or following moves right at the very first wheels. I'm talking about like anywhere from top 5. One, for a few reasons. One, I am in a pretty good shape, surprisingly, after the winter and after not racing for a whole year. I'm actually in a pretty good shape for myself, comparing myself to where I used to be years ago, and year past, I mean. And also I'm trying to avoid crashes, which obviously happened in that race. And knowing everybody coming, really excited, they're all trying to battling for position, they're all trying to, you know, get all that energy out. There will be crashes, so the safest place is to be in the front. Now obviously that's easier said than done. That's what everybody are trying to do. And as you can see, the roads are narrow and technical. You have some turns here that if you don't know how to come and carry speed to them, you'll be slowing down, and obviously you'll be also slowed down by other people, like you see here, that, you know, maybe don't know how to take that turn, those turns really well. And I figured I'm going to be in the front. Now I'm at disadvantage at that point here, although it's just a neutral lap. You can see my wattage here. This is nothing but neutral lap. It's already all out, and it was supposedly like 2 neutral laps. The motorcycle, the motor, the here you can see the motor we just passed him, pulled to the side at the first lap, and we didn't know what to do, so we were trying to control our own pace, I guess. At the second lap, and I thought to myself, I'm all the way. First of all, I'm all the way in the back here, which is not the place I want to be. But I am experienced already. I know where to. I mean, there were some places that I knew I can make up some ground and go all the way to the front. You'll see it in a minute. After the next turn, the wind will come from left to right, and usually what that means, everybody are fanning out to the right. And I told myself it will worth eating just a little bit more wind and just pass everybody on the left, because probably the left will be open, and you'll see it in a minute. And that's how I made up ground just in a neutral lap. Now I hope I'm not giving away moves here for the next race, but again, position in this race, once the race starting, really officially starting, it's all out. And even though I'm putting here 600-700 watts, I'm still all the way in the back. That means that if moves are going to happen in the front, here you see, look how many places I'm making on the left here. I have to push for a little bit, like 500 watts, 300, but look, in no time I'm in the front. Second wheel just passes the whole field. Okay, so 40 people in this race, about. The wind actually started to picking up while we were racing, and at that stretch where you see me right now, the wind is coming left to right, ever so slightly at that point. But once the race really, in about 2-3 laps, the wind really picked up, and played a big role in that race. I felt, at least. Anyhow, I got to the front. That was my main goal. I didn't care that I'm second wheel. And I figured once the race really starting, I'm going to hammer in the front with that guy, with anybody else that want to join. Because in this specific course, if you're playing your cards correctly, if you are strong and you know when to put the hammer, you're basically making sure everybody else around you, behind you I mean, will work just as hard. So I figured, let me be second, let me be the one that initiating the moves, let me be the one that really setting the pace. And that way, at least if I'm not in the very first breakaway, I'll be in the front group. That was my mentality. So we are 2 laps in, and I'm thinking that the race now is starting officially, but apparently it didn't really start officially here. And you'll see the guy in front of me is actually attacking, and I'm covering his move, and I know that's actually good for me, because if he's attacking, that's saving my legs from attacking, even though I had to put there like 500-600 watts just to follow his move. That's actually good for me, because again, wind is coming now at that stretch here, right to left, and we are guttering everybody else. Now, even though I'm working really hard on the last few in the last minute, everybody else behind us working just as hard. I'm getting a good draft here. See, the wattage is not that high behind his wheel, and here you go. That was alright. Yet another move by NYC. So I'm going to cover this move as well. Anyhow, I'm not putting my nose in the front just yet. I'm still following wheels. So we're going to watch this time. What I'm going to do is we're just going to watch the entire race. I figured I'm not just going to edit everything. And I know there's people here who wants to see the entire race also. So I figured I'm just going to play everything. Every now and then I'm going to comment and leave the entire race like that. Anyway, I'm second wheel here, putting a lot of watts as you can see, but not attacking just yet. And this is good for me because they're setting up a really strong pace, and I know that everybody, once again, everybody in the back are working just as hard as me, if not even harder at the turns. So taking into account that the neutral lap was really hard, and this first lap is really hard for everybody else. I think right on the get-go I was like pushing about 350 watts second wheel on average. I figured this will be a good time to really put the pedal to the metal, so to speak, and press really hard. And I figured this will be a good move right here. So here I'm starting pushing myself. And that was my... Oh, it wasn't my attack yet. I guess yet another NYCC guy is now attacking. And I had to put like 700, what is it, almost 800, 900 watts just to close that little gap here. Just to show you how hard it is to close gaps here. And trust me, if I'm putting 800 watts in the front, the guys in the back are doing just as much to close gaps. And we are entering now the third lap. And I'm still not in the front, but I'm still not attacking, but I'm following moves. And if I'm not mistaken, at one point here, that was the point I started working myself in the front, I believe. And I'm putting 400 and plus watts, figuring, unfortunately you don't see what's happening behind, but right now at that point, at that pace, going almost 500 watts, the field behind is definitely in pieces already, single file. A lot of people are on the limit already, and I know that at that turn, if the way I'm taking it, with that speed that I'm carrying, I'm putting everybody into a big I'm hurting everybody else. That's the main goal here. if you look at the speed that I'm carrying here, 44 kilometers an hour, that's no joke. What I'm trying to do here is, again, create a front group. That's my goal, of 5 to 10 people, maybe 5 to 10 riders, just to separate ourselves from the rest of the group. And what you're trying to do is almost like Zwift races. You're basically going as hard as you can in the front. And here the guy's flipping, and I'm telling him no problem, I'll take that turn. Right back to 400 watts again. And this was hard for me as well. At that first lap, if I'm not mistaken, I think my average for the first 9 minutes of the race was about 350 watts, something like this. That was my average normalized power for about 9 minutes. So for me, that's tough, especially with those accelerations you see from the corners, where you have to go all the way to 6 and sometimes even more, 6, 7, 800 watts off the corners. So that was a hard first laps for the race, but eventually that was what set the pace in the beginning of the race, and I'm happy to say that's actually what's created the winning move. Unfortunately, I'm just a little ahead of myself here. I wasn't in it. But this is exactly what I wanted to do. Even though I'm in the front here and pushing really hard, again, that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to get it out of my system. I wanted to be in the front, get away from crashes. Again, you don't see it in my camera here because I'm the first guy in the race, but there were a couple of crashes at least behind me that fortunately enough I avoided, obviously. All right, more news for you guys. I am now racing officially for the Verrazzano racing team. Here's my teammate in the front, riding the green neon jersey with the pink bike. So he's my teammate, and this changes a lot because I used to race unattached up till now. There's a lot of benefits for racing unattached, but now that I have teammates, a whole more options are opening right now for me. And also, obviously, it changes tactics altogether. So when you'll see this in this race as well. Anyhow, the pace is still high, very high, right from the get-go. Like I said, we are like, 4 laps in right now, and it doesn't let up. Look at the wattage here. Look at the speed that I'm carrying here. And yeah, this was a really hard race, especially for the first race of the season. 51 kilometers an hour. Wow. All right, so when I started the race, obviously I didn't know the players. I didn't know who's strong, who's not. And let me tell you a little secret here. The guy in the front here from Veselka, his name is Bobby. When I raced, I wasn't aware of how strong he is. I mean, I felt it in the race, obviously. He's now first wheel. He's pushing a lot of watts right now. Just based on the kilometers, on the speed that he was carrying up the straightaway there. But this guy, if I only knew that he can carry that speed for more than 5 minutes, I would have sat on his wheel, not letting him go anywhere. As you can see, my teammate is doing that. A gap is opening here. I had to close it. Again, that's after working really hard on the last 2 laps. I'm still have to push here 500 plus watts just to close the gap to my teammate and this guy Bobby. Now the reason I'm doing it is not because I'm bringing the entire field. What you don't see behind is that the fact that I'm almost by myself here. Everybody are on the limit here. So if you're looking back, there's gaps opening everywhere. It's not like I'm bringing the field with me and catching my teammate. But anyway, I'm in a winning move at that point without even knowing it. Looking backwards, looking in hindsight, that's what I mean. If I only knew that this is the guy I need to watch, the guy with the green Cannondale here, I wouldn't let it go anywhere. But what happened after, I'm not sure it was in this lap, maybe next lap, I needed a little rest here. After all the attacks, I think I'm going to see the front one more time. Maybe I'm wrong. And what happened is I figured, you know what, after all these surges and attacks in the front, now that we are a small little group, I think we broke the field right away. I think right now we're not more than maybe 15 people in the front, maybe. The rest of the field, we, again, reminding you, we were 40, are broken into pieces. There's like groups of twos, threes all over the road. A lot of people got dropped right away, right from the get-go. I'm talking about like the neutral lap already. Anyway, you can see the guys are working, again, trying to get more separation, making sure that the front group is staying in the front. And I don't know the players yet. I know that the guy in front of me is actually pretty strong. I'm second wheel here. Again, he's probably pushing like 500 watts at the speed that he carries. And at the wattage that I'm doing sitting on his wheel, for sure he's putting like 500 watts. That's definitely hurting. That's definitely hurting. It's hurting me, just watching it. Yeah, I'm letting gaps open on those turns, and that's not a good thing. I gotta fix that for next race. Anyhow, I'm still in the front, second wheel. I'm gonna take another little turn here, and I'm starting feeling it here, but I'm keep pushing myself because I'm telling myself once again, if you hurt, everybody else are hurting right now. So go to the front. And again, I don't know the player in the race. I don't know how tired they are. I don't know how strong they are. And apparently one guy, you'll see them coming on my left right now. This Bobby, his name is Bobby from Veselka. He's like a motor pace man. He doesn't look like he's that strong, but he's just going to the front and keeping the pace really high. And I'm trying to follow wheels here. So he's taking two guys with him. Once again, I don't know how strong he is. I don't know how strong, if he can really keep that pace. And I let that gap open. My teammate actually bridged to him, and this is where the tactic starts. So now I have a teammate up the road. I just worked really hard for the entire beginning, the beginning of the race, for the last 3-4 laps. I'm working really hard. I needed a breather here, and I'm seeing these gaps open, but I'm telling myself, okay, I got a teammate there now. I don't need to work in the front. I don't need to bring anybody. Let other people work. So I figured now that the separation happened and we are, you can see on the camera, this is more or less the front group at that point. So we have 4 people, 4 racers in the front that has a little gap of about, what is it now, 5-10 seconds on the road, and a chasing group. And all I have to do right now is following wheels. The wind is coming again left to right. So all I have to do is just following wheels and rest and see what happens. If the group, the chasing group that I'm in, catching the front group, I can counterattack, right? Because I just quote-unquote rested. Again, it's very hard to get a breather on that course, but as you can see, look at my wattage again. That's me drafting here. And I see gaps opening on the roads, but I know I can close them. That's fine. So I'm hopping between one guy to the next and then closing the gap to the front group again. This is how fast, though, if you're not strong enough and you can't put those efforts, this is how fast you're going to get dropped at Randall's Island. This is not like Prospect Park racing, for example. When you racing in Prospect Park, all local riders here in New York know there's few races in Prospect Park, Floyd Bennett Field, Central Park, and now Randall's Island. In the parks, the park races, the roads are really wide. You have 110 people, fields usually about, and to be honest with you, when you're racing them, you can't create gaps and open the field up like you see it over here, because I mean, if you in the middle of the pack, you're basically pushing 150 to 200 watts max, and you can go 30 miles an hour. No problem. You're not going to even feel it. The only place you're going to feel it is up the hills. Other than that, you're just basically coasting, resting. In that race, in Randall's Island, because the roads are narrow and you have all the turns, and again, if you have crosswinds, you can definitely come and play. You can gutter people, you can start creating moves, and everybody will have to work just as hard as you, which break the fields really fast. And I love that. I love the fact that you can basically put everything you have, on the line here. And unlike other races like Prospect Park, again, for example, you can't get away in Prospect Park. You can't just go to the front, attack, and stay away from a field of 110 people. All right, back to our race anyhow. So I'm blocking here. It's not that interesting. That means, what's blocking mean? I'm not going to be the douchebag that goes to the front and just put like 200 watts and block, but I'm just going to follow wheels. I'm going to follow moves. And if someone is attacking, just because I have a teammate in the front, I don't need to chase him. It's now other people's responsibility to chase my teammate. As you can see here, moves are happening, and I'm letting other people closing the gap. You can almost sense when someone is going, how strong he is. And here, once the Veselka guy is going, I felt, okay, I want to follow that move. You can see my wattage going really up there right away. I'm not playing games anymore, because if that move happens and there is a gap opening and I'm not in there, that will be the end of it. I'll be third group on the road, and I don't want that to happen. I'm already second group on the road right now. Again, my teammates with the winner, you can see them up in the front. I think they had at that point about 10 to 15 seconds on us. Not that much, but it's really hard to close on a course like that. All right, let's keep on watching, and I'll keep on commenting at the when I see something interesting happen. So I'm passing Jesse here, my friend on my left. I probably didn't even notice him on in the race itself. I didn't notice that he was right next to me because I was so focused in front. But anyway, he was racing really good. He actually got third place. Moves are happening in the front, as you can see. I forgot the name of the guy in front right now that attacked, but he's really strong. I see him in Prospect Park training every now and then, and he got really strong in the last couple of years. So he's attacking. He actually crashed in this race and got back on a bike and played. He was really strong, and chapeau to him. But I'm not chasing him. Once again, I got a teammate in the front. I'm just watching the Veselka guy, because again, if the Veselka guy, which you can see on the bike, he's really strong. I mean, you can see he probably can be in the front by himself and hold the entire field. So I know that if he's getting a little gap, I'm right there with him. The NYCC guys more or less controlled the pace. I think they had one guy in the front. Did they take one guy with them? I gotta look back at the footage. I'll be back in a second. Alright, so I just checked. Supposedly, yes, there's one NYCC guy in the front, a Verrazano guy, and a Veselka, obviously, Bobby, the winner of the race. So I missed the winning move, which I helped create it by opening a gap. And from that point, I didn't understand why the NYCC guys in the front set the pace. Now, they're supposed to be blocking, so they might be really just going hard enough not to create any, to discourage everybody else from attacking, but not as strong. So they making sure that the gap is maintained and probably even getting open more. I'm assuming that's what they did, because the pace right now, as you can see, is not that high. But once again, I don't have a reason to chase my teammate, so they have a teammate up in the front. The second wheel that you see right now in the footage here, Vasilka guy has a teammate in the front, and NYCC guys have a teammate in the front, so we are basically blocking. But I didn't come to Randall's Island and racing, woke up 3 o'clock in the morning just to chase wheels. And once again, you see, I don't understand that. If they have a guy in the front, why are they hammering? Maybe he got dropped and I didn't notice. It might be. It might be that really, it's hard to tell from the footage, but it might be, even in the race I wasn't sure, it might be that actually the second guy that from NYCC that was on Bobby's wheel got dropped actually, and we caught him on the road, so now they have nobody in the front, maybe, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that they kept on attacking and setting a really high pace every now and then. I don't know, unless they try, that's their, you know, maybe that's their moves, is like attacking just for a second and they're slowing down the pace this way. You're attacking for a few seconds, you're getting the sting out of everybody else, and then you're slowing down like you see right now. And overall your speed is really decreasing, so maybe that's their tactics. I don't know. It's really odd. I'm saving my legs and I'm telling myself I'm going to rest as much as I can here. Once the opportunity comes, I will attack, and hopefully not going to bring anybody with me, or maybe just one more guy. Once again, I have a teammate in the front, so I don't want to bring the entire chasing group with me, obviously. I want to make sure my guy in the front right now is staying in the front, and I'm not going to bring anybody with me. But I'm keep on thinking, I'm looking at who's working hard in the front. And I'm noticing that the Vasilka guy actually, which looks like a really strong guy, is not working. He's just covering moves. The NYCC guys are the guys that setting the pace, and they're the guys that, as you can see here, look, I'm gonna follow the guy on the right here, and I don't know, that might be a false pace. Hard for me to tell, but I swear to God that they really worked hard at point of the race. So if they have a guy in the front, that's really weird. You're not chasing your teammates. If you don't have anybody in the front right now, and the guy that Bobby took with him, the Vasilka guy, really got dropped, that makes more sense for them to set a pace like that. Anyhow, I'm still thinking I gotta attack at one point, hopefully get away, get a gap. I need to... Oh, this guy just lost his wheel for a second here. Yep, and that opened the gap. That's another thing on those turns. I mean, I can probably stay closer to the guy in the front, but it's hard to trust the racers in front of you. There were crashes in that corner exactly for that reason. And you keep on, I'm letting a gap open because I'd rather be safe than sorry. You're following someone's wheel and he touches wheels or he skid on the floor and you're down with him in just 2 seconds. I see them slowing down here. At one point of the race, I will attack by myself. I don't think it's here. You keep, you almost have to sense it. You almost have, if you see that the pace is high, and it's really hard, and you, in the field, if you can rest at that point, you probably don't want to attack. But as soon as it's slowing down, and you can get almost like a slingshot effect, that's the time to attack. And here's another move. This one is by Jesse, I think, and I gotta cover that. I'm not letting, you see, as soon as I see a gap, a little gap open, and I see a Vasilka guy on it, that's it. I'm not letting that gap open. So that's Jesse in the front, and yeah, covering that move right away. So I can see at that point that Jesse is getting tired, and I'm counter-attacking at that point. I'm coming from the right. So Wind is coming left to right. The right place to attack from is the right. I did the right thing. I was at the front, and I'm gonna gutter everybody here. So I'm going as hard as I can. Look at the wattage. Look at the speed. If I am attacking, I don't want to bring anybody else with me. I want to make sure I'm all by myself. And at that point, I think I looked back, and I thought everybody else is on my wheel, and realized that only the Veselka guy is actually on my wheel. So I stopped working for a second there, and then I had to jump up again and get to his draft just to catch up again. So it's only me and him right now, nobody behind us, and we had a little gap open. So that's a good move for me. That's a great move, actually. I have the guy that I wanted to bring with me, actually, in a move. Once again, this is a mistake. We're going off-road here for a second. There's nobody on our wheel. We open a little gap here, but that's really hurting. So I'm going to sit on his wheel for a few seconds. He's asking me to work. I'm coming from his left. Once again, trying to put as much. I went off-road myself. I'm so epoxied at that point. Doing 400 watts, but I'm going as hard as I can. And eventually, within half a lap, I think at that point let's see when my wattage is dropping. I'm keep on working really hard here. That means they're still not on our wheel. And I think at that point I'm looking back and I see that the group behind us, they just caught us. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's keep on watching. They caught us. So obviously I'm going to stop working at that point. Okay, so if everybody else caught us, I'm not going to bring the field with me. But that was my attempt to get away and bridge to the front. That was a good attack. That was a good move, and I put a lot of effort on the line here. So I had to recover from this. But chapeau to the NYCC guys that were really working hard in the front for the last couple of laps and actually managed to get us back, because that was a really strong attack by me. And a follow-up by the Veselka guy here in the front. So as soon as everybody else were on my wheel here, as you can see, look at my wattage, it's going down. I'm not going to work hard. And that's what happens is overall with these attacks, though, the overall speed will decrease to a point where the guys in the front getting a good gap because they keep on working together and in a constant speed. So overall their speed is much higher than ours. So once again, I'm just going to follow wheels at that point, and since everybody else are there right behind me, if I had a second, to be honest with you, if I had a second attacking me, that right now would have been the best time to attack, because you keep attacking when everybody else are tired, and just like I was tired from my attack, I'm sure everybody else that were covering that move were tired just as well. And this would have been a perfect counter attack again. But you need to be really strong with strong legs in order to push 400-500 watts for a couple of minutes and then attack yet again a few seconds after. That's really hard to do. So I'm trying to rest here at that point. I'm really tired. And I think from this point on, I realized that I'm just going to have to follow wheels and wait to the last couple of laps and see what I can do then. Just as I said, here's the counterattack. And that was the right move. Potentially that could have broken the field right there. So we have, two guys in the front, and the odd thing is we have a Veselka guy in the front here and another Veselka guy actually chasing him. And that's very odd. But once again, it's really, I have to put here. We all got back together. Okay. You were working almost individually here. I mean, it's a little odd that he chased his own teammate. The NYCC, once he saw them cutting, we caught the move. He kept on working like he should be, because you don't want, again, if you don't have a guy in the front, and I think that the NYCC guys missed the winning move. They actually had a guy there, and I think he got dropped. That's what I think happened. And they had to keep on chasing. So as soon as you see the pace dropping, you just keep on hammering. You just have to keep on going hard. Keep the pace steady. These are two guys we are lapping here on the right. And at that point, I'm just thinking to myself, when should I attack? That's what's in my mind at the last bit of the race. Because, again, I don't like coming to the end of the race with the sprint. I think it's dangerous. I also like to attack and try to get a gap. That's my thing. That's what I love about racing. Don't like the sprint that much. And once again, if you're getting a good gap here, you can definitely hold the entire field by yourself. So that's all I'm thinking about. And just following moves, following the wheels, and see where and who's working hard, who's tired, trying to read body languages and see when will be the right time to attack. That's all on my mind at that point right now. And you can see the NYCC definitely missed the winning move. That's why they're in the front like that. It doesn't make any sense otherwise. And they kept on chasing and working really hard. Definitely. And you'll see now on the right another counter attack. So yeah, the attacks kept on coming. And yeah, that will come from the right. There you go. I'm seeing who's covering it. And once the pace goes up with the hammer as well. I mean, you can't let anybody go at that point. I mean, as soon as the gap opens, you got to close it. That's the end of it. And I got a little gap open on me, and yep, I had to close it. Look at this. 500 watts, 400 watts. And I'm working just as hard as the guy in the front right now. That's what I was talking about. Once you attack a pedestrian coming, that's definitely safe. But these moves, you see that move didn't last more than like, what, 20 seconds? And we brought it back. In order to hold the move, obviously, you have to have the initial attack, which is really hard, really easy to do. The initial attack is not a problem. To hold it for like a lap or two, that's a different story. And we all back together. Alright, from this point on, these are 2 laps to go. So we are 2 laps to go. And as you can see, I'm keep on following the moves, the attacks, just following wheels, trying to recover as much as I can before my planned attack, if I had the chance. Obviously, again, it depends on what other people are doing on the road. So as of now, the pace is pretty high. I didn't want to attack, and I'm just waiting for the opportunity. Oh yeah, I almost missed it. We actually have 2 flyers right now that did attack us, and that's why the pace is so high. But we did bring him back eventually. So as you can see, there's 2 guys up the road. Just to remind you again, 2 other guys up the road way ahead of us. They'll win the race eventually. So we have our teammate and the winner of the race, Bobby, and then 2 guys are chasing with a little gap on my group right now. And we are all chasing. We brought in one from the left here, the guy that wore the red, and I think we had one more right in front of us. You can see him right there up the road, which is a good thing. It means that we have at that point 2 guys that were at the initial attack here will be really tired. We are closing in, just to remind you again, to last lap. So we are getting into the last lap right now. 1 more lap to go. Once we cross the finish line, it will be 1 last lap to go. So 2 guys that just burned themselves. We just brought them in. That's good. We have the chasers that had to bring the move, and they burning themselves. So that's good. So if you're gonna see up the road right now, this was the right moment to counterattack everybody else, and this is where I'm gonna put my bidding my bidding for the end of the race. So if you're gonna see everybody here, it's almost like an individual time trial. You'll see 1, 2 guys on the road, and the pace is slowing down. Everybody are tired. 1,000 watts. That's it. I'm all in right now. I'm bringing nobody with me, and just putting as much as I can. So catching 1 guy. Excuse me, you're not going that fast. I gotta go around you. Keep on going to the NYC guy that was counterattacking before. And yep, I'm gonna go around him as well. And I'm gonna go as much to the left as I can, almost riding at the grass here. I don't want to have anybody on my wheel enjoying my draft. Wind is coming strong right to left here. So I'm putting 400 watts. Everybody else will put 400, 500 watts. And I have a gap here. I had a very big gap at that point. I think I had already, I opened, in no time, I opened like 5 to 10 seconds on the rest of them. Now, the odd thing of what you see now, actually, that's a very odd situation. So we have my teammate up in the front here. He just like 3 seconds ahead of me. Let's count it. Let's see from the tree. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 seconds up ahead of me. I'm putting almost 400, 350 watts here. I have a gap on the rest of the chasers, so that's good. These guys we just lapped, so they're not in the game. And so in a situation like this, actually if I'm catching my teammate, that's good, because we don't have to race one another. I don't care if he's taking second, if I'll take second, he's third, or the other way around. It doesn't really matter. That's a good thing. I have nobody on my wheel right now, so I'm not chasing him and bringing other people with me. I'm actually beating at a place for myself. That's a good thing. Obviously, if I had anybody else on my wheel, I would have to reconsider and maybe stop working. But I'm working as hard as I can. Oh boy, I remember that point here. I was so epoxied. I started to lose it, and I told myself, okay, maybe I should just slow down. They'll catch me anyway. They were right behind me. Maybe I had at that point 5 seconds, but we're getting to the last bit of the race here, and I put everything I had here. I put everything. In hindsight, I should have sprinted from that point on. I realized I'm not gonna catch my teammate. There's no way I'm gonna get to him. And he was second on the road here, so he getting second, and I'm keep on pushing as hard as I can. And if I had a sprint in me, I would have get third, but I didn't have anything. This was as hard as I can. That was my beat. So Jesse eventually was the one rider that actually passed me on the line and got third. So I got fourth place. But I'm really happy with my performance. I'm really happy with the way I played in that specific race. And I learned a lot. I learned who's the players. I learned whose wheels to follow for next for next race. But you know how it is. You're always planning, and you never know. You never know how the outcome will be. But I'm really happy with my performance here. So this was the first race of the season, guys, and I hope to get you more. We have one more coming this coming Sunday. So until next time, guys, take care.